The reason that we love seeing behind the scenes with stuff like that is it is somebody at the absolute zenith of their capacity, and they are putting everything that they can into making this as good as possible. And I think that I sometimes find myself getting, I certainly did before I had the podcast, I was wistful that I have the raw materials to work very hard at things, and I'd never had a pursuit that I could have applied it to. There was nothing, I remember the first time I ever heard Peterson say, work as hard as you can at one thing for a year and see what happens. And I'd never had a thing that I could work hard at business, but the line between your inputs and your outcomes is so meandering and messy that I can always excuse away good or bad performances as not being on me. And for the most part, I would take responsibility for the bad ones and not take responsibility for the good ones, because that's how I'm wired. But never had something that was linear, or close to linear. I put an hour in and I get an hour out, or more than an hour out, and it's direct. And then about 3 years ago, I had this conversation with Dean, my video guy. I was like, I want to turn pro. I read Stephen Pressfield, War of Art, and then I read Turning Pro. I want to turn pro with the show. What's that mean? What would it mean if I treated this pursuit like an athlete does? So an athlete, they review game tape and they do mindset work, and they've got a sports psychologist and they look at what they eat and they look at what they drink and they go to bed on time, and they're hanging around with people that are growth minded, and they're getting the right coaches, and all the rest. Everything is done in order to facilitate performance in the thing that they say they care about. Everybody has the opportunity to do that. You just need to define what the thing is. I'm never going to be Patrick Mahomes, right? I know, but I managed to find my thing and then nearly kill myself in dedication toward it. There's a photo that I put up on my Instagram a little while ago, 2 weeks after I ruptured my Achilles. I saw that. And I'm in a boot and I've got the laptop on my lap, and we've created this arm that'll bring the mic to me because I didn't want to stop doing the podcast because I'd made this commitment. I'm going to turn pro. And for 3 years, we haven't missed a single episode 3 times a week. For 3 years now. And before that, it was 2 a week for a year. And before that, it was 1 a week for a year. And it just keeps on ramping up. And the opportunity to commit yourself fully to something that you care about is beyond a blessing. And when you do it, the way that you feel once you know that you've worked hard is great. And we said before we started, you got this big thing coming up, which I'm super proud of you for managing to achieve, even though it hasn't happened yet. The difference between being nervous and being excited before you do something is your level of preparation in advance of it. If you step out on stage or in front of 500,000 people on a webinar, which is the craziest sentence I've ever said, if you step out on stage in front of 500,000 people and you've done absolutely everything, there's nothing to fear.